For money, I cross-dressed and hooked a prince from the Beijing elite circle online. During the online romance, I not only forced him to send me intimate photos every day for my appraisal, but also raked in a ton of money. Finally, after paying off all my debts, he asked to meet again. I was just about to brush him off. But then suddenly the air in front of me filled with bullet comments. When will the cannon fodder male side character die? Pretending to be a girl to trick the male lead into an online romance, and even scamming him for money and photos. So disgusting. The male lead is severely homophobic, a pure straight guy. Once he finds out he's been played by the male side character, the first thing he'll do is kill him. Don't worry, he won't be dancing around for long. The male lead is already checking his IP and will soon expose his intersex secret in public. In the end, the male lead will take revenge by throwing him into a group of men to be toyed to death. My smile froze on my face, and with trembling hands, I was about to delete everything. Suddenly, the bathroom door was pushed open. That homophobic roommate who had always despised me was clutching the silver waist chain I had just photographed for my online boyfriend. His voice trembled. "This waist chain, where did you get it?" The dormitory ceiling light was ghastly pale, casting no trace of color on anyone's face. Lu Xiaoya blocked my way, holding that waist chain in his hand, his eyes cold as ice. My mind exploded with a buzz. A thin silver chain with a red gem in the middle, exquisitely designed and not commonly seen. And I had just been wearing it, hiding in the restroom to take a photo as a reward for that sucker boyfriend I'd been stringing along for nearly half a year.
Damn, no way.
This aloof, straight-laced roommate who looked down on me from day one and always went against me. How could he be the one who, when told to show abs, never hides the Adonis belt, calls me baby nonstop, and showers me with money like a well-trained good boy boyfriend? A barrage comment drifted by. "Oh, finally figured it out, idiot. Your roommate is your online romance husband." Surprised, shocked. "You've been gold digging for half a year and ended up targeting your own roommate. Hilarious. You were gloating over the money just now. Why aren't you laughing now? Born without a sense of humor? Wait until the male lead finds out he's been tricked by some androgynous monster for half a year. The first thing he'll do is destroy him. Remember the original novel? He was stripped naked and thrown into a pile of men, tortured until his last breath. A chill instantly swept over me, making my hair stand on end. Almost reflexively, I reached out and snatched the waist chain from his hand. The moment my fingertips brushed the back of his hand, Lu Xiaoya visibly stiffened, as if touched by something dirty, his brows furrowing. I hastily stuffed the waist chain into my pocket. Forcing myself to look up, I said, "Lu Xiaoya, what the hell is wrong with you? Don't touch my stuff." My voice was steady as a rock, but my heart was about to explode. He stood in front of me, a good half head taller, backlit by the overhead light, his expression dark and unreadable. He pressed again with a grim face. "How do you have this waist chain?" "I bought it," I said, curling the corner of my mouth in a careless smile. $9.99 on Pinduoduo, free shipping. "What, you want one too?" Lu Xiaoya's gaze was fixed on my face, clearly disbelieving. "You wear this kind of thing?" "Waist chains aren't just for girls," I shrugged, tilting my head to look at him with a nonchalant expression. Then he leaned down, abruptly closing the distance between them, lowering his voice with a faint hint of a smile. "Why are you so concerned about what I wear? Could it be that you have feelings for me?" The effect was immediate. Lu Xiaoya jerked back, his Adam's apple bobbing violently. He almost instinctively stepped back half a pace, turning his face away, with undisguised disgust in his tone. "Your skin is really thick. Someone like you isn't even worth a strand of my wife's hair. I'd have to be blind to have feelings for you." After saying that, he turned and left. At the door, he tilted his head, the sharp lines of his profile cut like a blade, and said coldly, "Put your things away. The bathroom is a common area. Don't leave your stuff lying around and dirtying my sight." The sound of his footsteps faded at the end of the corridor. I slowly slid down to sit on the bed, only then realizing that the clothes on my back were completely soaked. I pulled the silver chain out of my pocket. It was slightly warm in my palm. That was too close. Lu Xiaoya's look just now clearly showed suspicion, but fortunately, his homophobia saved my life. After all, there's no way he could ever equate that sweet, flirtatious, soft-waisted, long-legged online girlfriend with me, his disgusting roommate that makes him sick. Just as I was thinking, my phone buzzed. My online boyfriend sent a message. Baby, that waist chain you're wearing today is so beautiful. I've been staring at it for half an hour. I almost couldn't control myself. I'm going crazy. When will you agree to meet me? I want to put it on you with my own hands, then pin you against the wall and kiss you senseless. I stared at the screen, finding it both absurd and hilarious. How can this guy switch between two faces so seamlessly? A moment ago, he was disgusted that my stuff dirted his eyes, and now he's practically kneeling to lick me online. Before I could figure out how to reply, another message popped up. Baby, throw away that waist chain. Your man will buy you a new one. Transfer 520000. Note, for buying baby a waist chain. Don't you dare refuse. Today I found out my disgusting roommate actually has an identical one. Such bad luck. I clenched my teeth and typed, You don't like your roommate? He replied instantly. I don't like it, I hate it. I couldn't hold back anymore and muttered under my breath at the phone. Lu Xiaoye, you bastard. Anger instantly overpowered my fear. Without a shred of guilt, I tapped to accept the payment and, putting on a syrupy voice, sent back a voice message. Thank you, big bro. You're so kind. The moment the message was sent, the barrage of comments flooded in again. When will this gold digger get off the screen? Just looking at his face makes me physically sick. Knowing the male lead is homophobic yet still keeps deceiving him, how twisted must his mind be? He's only taking advantage of the fact that the male lead doesn't know yet. On the day he finds out the truth, do you think he'll use that $500,000 to buy you a decent coffin? A crippled piece of trash dares to toy with the crown prince of Beijing's elite circle. Serves you right that you'll end up in pieces. Don't worry, soon he'll be changing from thank you, big bro, to big bro, spare me. Every barrage comment was more vicious than the last. The screen reflected my pale face. I curled my lips, no longer caring. These people are cursing so harshly now. But if they were brought in to act for 2 episodes, not a single one of them would be able to say a word. Who can say no to money? What's more, if it weren't for this money, I'd still be buried in debt, unable to afford school at all, let alone my dream major or future. I met my online boyfriend on a game companion platform. My dad is a scumbag. After his business failed, he ran off with his mistress and took all the money from home. My mom had been a housewife for half her life, and all she could do was sit on the floor and cry. The debt collectors came banging on the door with fierce looks, and the bank took away the house. Tuition and debt. 2 mountains crushing me alone. I started taking any job I could, delivering food during the day and serving drinks at bars at night. On my way back after finishing work in the early morning, I'd even rummage through trash bins for anything recyclable to sell, but the money I earned wasn't even enough to cover the interest. So when I went to push drinks again, a male customer in the booth reached out and touched me, his greasy palm sliding down along my waistline. I didn't refuse, I even forced a smile at him. I thought when a person is struggling just to survive, what does dignity even matter? But when he actually grabbed me and dragged me toward the hotel, I still broke free and ran. The next day, I got fired for offending a customer. With no way out, a friend told me about a new game where female players were rare, and being a paid gaming companion could earn good money. Because I'm intersex, my voice is naturally thin. If I pitch it up a bit, over the internet it's almost impossible to tell if I'm male or female. So I registered a female account, used a photo of my legs as my avatar, and took on gigs every day as a gaming companion, flattering and praising clients, desperately providing emotional value. Until late one night, right after I finished a game, someone from the previous team added me as a friend. I accepted, and he sent a private message. Want a long-term gig? You're really good at the game, and your voice is nice. But I have one request. If you take my gig, you only chat with me. I have a thing about cleanliness. I laughed. I typed back, Are you sure? I'm expensive, you know. The next second, a transfer popped up, 300,000 yuan received, with the note, Voluntary gift. Then another line. This is the deposit. 2 million per month, is that enough? I stared at that string of zeros for a full 5 seconds, then immediately pitched up my voice and sent a voice message. That's enough, big bro. You're so kind, big bro. And just like that, I became his exclusive gaming partner. With that money, I scraped together my tuition fees and finally caught my breath from the debt. But gradually, we moved from gaming to life, from life to philosophy. Surprisingly, we clicked on so many viewpoints and insights. Until one night, right after a game, his avatar started blinking nonstop as he sent one photo after another. Abs, pecs, V-shaped lines. Every photo showed the man fresh out of the shower, hair still dripping, with dim lighting and water droplets tracing down his shoulders, over his collarbones, and along the grooves of his muscles. Finally, they paused on those two delicate pink buds, about to fall but still clinging. I cupped my nose, blood rushing to my head, and couldn't help but type. What are you up to? Comparing muscles with me? I'm a guy, but I've always been slim-built, with a slender waist and long legs. A few lean muscles of mine are nowhere near impressive compared to his. He replied, Why would I compare with a woman? I slapped my head, overstimulated, and almost forgot I was logged into a female account. Before I could respond, another message popped up. I was going to ask if you want to be my girlfriend. I have money, I'm not bad-looking, and I know how to make you happy. Do you want to give me a try? I stared at the few tantalizing photos on the screen, then glanced at the generous numbers in the transfer history. After a moment of thought, I thought, forget it, treat it like a job. Besides, with such an amazing body, the face can't be too bad. I put on a coquettish voice and sent a voice message. Sure, honey. Turns out the sugar daddy I casually hooked online wasn't just right next to me, he was also my archenemy at school who always targeted me. As I was walking back after evening self-study, the dormitory had suddenly caught up from behind and slapped me on the shoulder. Fiancé, there's a dorm dinner tonight. I'll send you the address later. Make sure you come. I opened my mouth to refuse, but he cut me off. Don't even say you're not coming. This time we've set up this gathering specifically for you and Lu Xiaoya. You two are in the same dorm. What's with your relationship being so strained all this time? I slapped his hand away, looking speechless. Blame me. When school started and dorms were assigned, I followed the principle of getting along and was the first to greet him. But Lu Xiaoya looked me up and down, his disgust undisguised. Good-looking but on the wrong path. Before I could react, he brushed past me and threw out, I have a cleanliness obsession. Stay away from me for the next few years, or I'll make sure you don't last in this school. Thinking of this, the anger flared up again in me. Go if you want, I'm not going. Lu Xiaoya is out of his mind, targeting me for no reason. The room leader laughed it off. Don't bother with him. That guy's homophobic. Maybe he's biased because you look delicate. This time I've called a few classmates, and I'll have him apologize to you. With that, he turned and left, giving me no chance to refuse. I finally couldn't bear to refuse the room leader's kindness. After receiving the address, I hurried out and arrived at the bar. Lu Xiaoya and a few classmates were already drinking. I was about to step over and say hello when the room leader's voice drifted over as he tapped Lu Xiaoya's glass. He advised in a low voice, Young Master Lu, when Fiancé comes later, don't keep a cold face. You two are dorm brothers. Staying tense all day makes it awkward for us. Lu Xiaoya didn't speak. The others chimed in. After a moment, he let out a light scoff. Whose brother's with him? That kind of money-grubbing, gold-digging person who would sell anything for money. Don't let me in with him. The dorm leader raised his glass hesitantly. Can't be. I think Fiancé is pretty straightforward. You guys must have a misunderstanding. Lu Xiaoya tossed back his drink, finishing it in one gulp, and commented contemptuously, Huh, a fake. In his heart, rage instantly burned away all reason. I turned and hid in the restroom, locking the door behind me. I pulled out my phone and tapped on Lu Xiaoya's profile picture, only to find that an hour ago, he had sent several messages. Babe, what are you doing today? Why did you suddenly stop talking to me? I miss you so much. I really want to see you soon. Baby's waist is so thin. Hubby is really afraid he'll break you when the time comes. Transfer 1314, transfer 13140, transfer 131400. Babe, please talk to me, okay? Seeing his last sentence, with that almost humble tone, a mix of emotions stirred in my heart. This guy really calls me a gold digger and a fake in person, but online he's throwing money at someone he's never even met. I can't tell if he's clear-headed or just plain nuts. But thinking about those vicious words he just said, the anger I'd been holding back finally boiled over. I typed straight out, "You idiot, wake up and smell the coffee." And he calls himself the prince of Beijing's elite circle? Doesn't even know if I'm a man or a woman. "I've had enough of your tricks. I'm done playing. Break up." After sending it, I let out a long breath. A wave of relief washed over me. I was about to delete him for good when my phone suddenly buzzed. Lu Xiaoya had replied. The message was short but carried a chill. "Baby, you're playing with fire. Saw your IP. Turns out we're in the same school. You better hope your mouth's still this tough when I find you." He was definitely tracking me. My hand trembled in fright, and I didn't hesitate to block and delete him. I turned and pushed open the bathroom door, ready to slip away. The hallway was dimly lit, the music pounding so hard the floor vibrated. Keeping my head down, I hurried past the booth area. My gaze swept over the sofa we'd booked, and I froze mid-step. The squad leader was gone, and so were those classmates. Only Lu Xiaoya was leaning alone in the booth. He tilted his head back, 2 buttons of his collar pulled open, his face flushed with an unnatural red, his Adam's apple slowly rolling, his eyes unfocused and dazed. The whole person was decadent and disheveled. The long-vanished barrage suddenly flooded in. Here it comes, the classic scene from the original novel. The male lead gets dumped by his online sweetheart and then drugged by his rival in the next breath. He's really tragic. Luckily, the female lead works as a waitress in this bar. She'll immediately notice something's wrong with the male lead and then cure him with her body. From then on, the male lead becomes addicted to the female lead's body. They do it a lot, really do it a lot, helping the male lead completely shake off the shadow of the online romance scam. Why hasn't that dead gold digger scammed yet? Scammed for money, pics, and feelings. Don't tell me he wants to take advantage and defile the male lead's innocence now? Huh? Does he dare to go for it? A thing that's neither male nor female. Even if the male lead is drug silly, he won't get turned on by that thing. Scram. Don't delay our male and female leads from following the plot. I withdrew my gaze and turned to leave. Since he has his fated female lead to save him, what's it to me? As I passed the edge of the booth, I lowered my head and quickened my pace when a hand suddenly grabbed my wrist. The scorching heat transmitted through the skin, and the force was so strong it made my bones ache. In the darkness, the man's unfocused gaze was fixed on the inside of my wrist, where a bracelet woven from red silk thread peeked out from my sleeve. He stared for a long time, then slowly lifted his head and said in a hoarse voice, "Got you, wife." My body stiffened. My hands and feet trembled uncontrollably with cold. Lu Xiaoya had recognized me. I lowered my head and met his eyes, which were glistening with moisture from the drug's effect. Those eyes, usually cold and disdainful, were now rimmed with red, gazing up at me in confusion, as if trying to recognize something, or maybe not recognizing me at all, just clinging on instinctively and refusing to let go. I swallowed and pointed at myself with my other hand, my voice tight. "Lu Xiaoya, who am I?" He opened his mouth, but his body suddenly lunged forward, collapsing into my arms, and I caught him by reflex. The man in my arms was burning hot, panting heavily, looking utterly miserable. At this rate, even if the female lead showed up, he probably wouldn't make it. I gritted my teeth, helped him up, and leaned him against me, muttering in annoyance, "Fine, I owe you one. Can't go back to the dorm." Taking him to the hospital was risky. If he came to on the way, with Lu Xiaoya's prejudice against me, he'd definitely think I drugged him. I'd never be able to explain myself then. So I had no choice but to take him to the hotel next door. After finally dragging him into the room and tossing him onto the bed, I turned to leave, planning to call the dorm leader to handle the aftermath, but he suddenly grabbed my wrist and yanked me back. The world spun, and I was pinned beneath him. His legs locked around my waist, his burning body pressed against mine, his pheromones flooding my senses. Most of his shirt buttons had come undone, revealing his sharply defined chest and abs. Under the light, his skin gleamed with a thin sheen of sweat. He looked down at me, his face still flushed, voice hoarse beyond belief. "Wife, don't go, help me." I froze for a moment, then turned my face away, struggling in fury. "Lu Xiaoya, are you blind? I'm your archenemy, not your wife." But he seemed not to hear. He grabbed my wrists and pinned them above my head, his whole weight pressing down. His lips ground against mine with an unyielding force, kissing deep and fierce, plundering wantonly, as if trying to knead me into his body. Suddenly, his fingers that had been exploring between my legs stopped. His dazed eyes seemed to clear for a moment. I trembled all over, so ashamed I wanted to escape immediately, and shoved at him. Lu Xiaoya, snap out of it. Don't let the drug control you. He looked up, his gaze both confused and determined, but he didn't stop. It's weird, but I like it. He nuzzled into the curve of my neck, his scorching breath catching my earlobe, his voice hoarse and pitiful, like a dog that had been ignored for too long. Babe, didn't we agree to let me have you for 3 days and nights? Don't you want to try me now, burning hot? When I woke up the next day, my whole body felt like it had been run over by a heavy truck. Lu Xiaoya was still sound asleep beside me, the blanket barely covering his waist and abdomen, his bare chest covered in scratches and red marks. He looked oddly innocent in his sleep, a far cry from the madman who had tossed and turned all night torturing me. Holding my waist and shaking on my legs, I barely managed to get dressed. Too furious to let it go, I kicked him. You damn dog, when I ask you to act like a human, you play the beast, and now that someone's drugged you, you drag me down with you. The movement was a bit too much. Lu Xiaoya frowned, showing signs of waking up. Scared, I quickly covered my rear and hobbled out of the room. Back in the dorm, I pushed open the door. Only the dorm leader was there, leaning back in his chair playing games. Hearing the noise, he took off his headphones, turned around and looked me up and down. Fiancé, what happened to you last night? We waited forever, and you didn't even show up. I forced a smile and tried to walk as normally as possible. Something came up, forgot to tell you guys. Next time, it's on me. I'll treat everyone to a meal to make up for it. The dorm leader waved his hand, saying it was fine, then pulled out a few tickets from his bag and handed them to me. Oh, by the way, I got some hot spring tickets. Invited a few friends. You should come too. I hesitated. Lu Xiaoya is also going? He said he wasn't going last night, the leader said with a shrug. You know how he is, a spoiled rich kid who doesn't like this kind of crowd. Relieved, I nodded and said, all right. Then I couldn't hold myself up any longer. I collapsed onto the bed, pulling the covers over my head to catch up on sleep. As my arm dropped, my gaze swept past my wrist. The red bracelet I had worn yesterday was gone. That thing was something Lu Xiaoya had sent over not long after we confirmed our relationship, tucked casually among a pile of gifts. A few crooked red threads braided together, hardly worth anything. I had always tossed it in a corner, but yesterday, for some reason, I wore it out. Now that we've broken up, the thing's gone too. It must be fate. My head was groggy, so I didn't think much more about it, closed my eyes, and fell into a deep sleep. When I woke up again, the dormitory was unusually quiet. The afterglow from outside spilled in, covering the room in gold and red. Half asleep, I turned over, planning to laze around a bit longer. But I came face to face with someone, neither too close nor too far, staring at me without blinking. Lu Xiaoya had come back at some point and was sitting on the chair by my bed, his back straight, his gaze fixed on my face. I was so startled that I instantly woke up and sprang up from the bed. Holy shit, Lu Xiaoya, are you crazy? He didn't move, just quietly looked at me. The setting sun cast light on his profile, gilding his features with a thin glow. His expression was unreadable, neither angry nor pleased. Suddenly, his gaze moved downward, stopping at my open collar. A few suggestive red marks on my collarbone looked especially ambiguous in the dim light. His Adam's apple bobbed, and his voice was low and hoarse. Where were you last night? My heart suddenly pounded. My hands unconsciously clutched the blanket. Following his gaze, I looked down. My mind went blank, and I instinctively raised my hand to cover the marks. Lu Xiaoya, however, took the lead. He stood up and strode over, pressing me down onto the bed. His cold fingertips touched that patch of skin. The pressure was light, but made it impossible to break free. Fiancé, you'd better think carefully before you speak. His tone was calm, but carried a warning. I hate being lied to more than anything. I stiffened, my heart nearly pounding out of my chest. Lu Xiaoya's tone and attitude. Could it be that he remembered last night? But he didn't retaliate directly. Instead, he came to ask me. So maybe he didn't hate me that much after all. A flicker of hope stirred in my heart. Just as I was about to speak, the barrage of comments flooded in again. This idiot isn't going to say that he was the one who slept with the male lead, all night last night, is he? He really can't see that the male lead is baiting him. If he dares to admit it, the male lead will chop him into pieces and feed him to dogs the next second. Stupid and greedy, and he even stole the female lead storyline. When will this neither male nor female thing finally be written out? Go on, say it. Let the male lead expose his intersex identity in public. In the end, he'll not only be expelled but also die a miserable death. I sat back, ready to watch the show, waiting to see how he'd dig his own grave. My mouth was hanging open, unable to utter a single word. The faint shred of hope I'd had was being crushed to dust by each comment in the live chat. Helplessness overpowered my anger and grievance. I raised my hand and shoved Lu Xiaoya off me. None of your damn business where I went or what I did last night. I stared at him coldly, face hard. What gives you the right to question me in that tone? Just because you're rich and powerful, does that mean I have to fear you and avoid you? Lu Xiaoya, not only do you dislike me, but I also despise you. Arrogant, conceited, and completely lacking in manners. Whoever ends up marrying you will be the unluckiest person alive. After letting it all out, I actually felt a sense of relief. I got up from the bed, grabbed my coat, and headed for the door. Right as I was about to leave, Lu Xiaoya suddenly spoke, his voice low and his face pale. I'm sorry, I didn't know you were. I pulled the door open without looking back. It slammed shut heavily, the draft scattering his unfinished words behind me. As I walked out of the dormitory, a cold wind hit me in the face, and only then did I realize that my hands were trembling with anger. My phone suddenly lit up in my palm. I lowered my head to glance at it. It was a message from my mom. Son, your father is back. He wants to see you. He still has the nerve to show his face, the same man who ran off with the mistress and all the money. He didn't even spare my tuition fees. Now he says he wants to see me? I called back directly. As soon as it connected, I snapped. Not happening. My mom tried to reason gently. He's still your biological father after all. And I'm still his biological son. I cut her off, stifling my anger. Did he ever think of us when he ran off with the money? Did he think of us when the debt collectors came banging on the door? There was silence on the other end. Finally, her soft voice replied, but isn't all that in the past now? The debts are paid off. Do you even know how I paid them off? I gripped the phone, feeling both aggrieved and furious. If I hadn't thrown away my morals, abandoned my conscience, and started dressing as a girl online to scam people, if I hadn't met that rich fool Lu Xiaoya with more money than brains, those debts would have crushed me for life. Now that I've finally paid it off, my father came back. I closed my eyes, completely disappointed in my mother's lifelong weakness and incompetence. Coldly gave her two choices. Mom, either cut ties with him and I'll support you for the rest of your life, or go with him and act like you never had a son like me. The immense debt of life and upbringing has been repaid with that money. From now on, I just want to live for myself. After saying that, I hung up the phone. The wind rushed into my collar, making me shiver from the cold. I wiped away my tears, forcing back the sour feeling in my eyes. For the next few days, I deliberately avoided Lu Xiaoya. When he came back to the dorm, I went to the library. When he entered, I left. Occasionally our eyes met, and I would immediately look away. Living under the same roof, our relationship became even more strained than before. And after I rejected my mother, my father had to step in personally. At first, he pretended to care by sending text messages asking how I was. Later, he didn't even bother pretending and directly asked me for money. Just as I expected. I coldly deleted the messages, not replying a single word. On the weekend, the dorm leader had everyone gather at the school gate. We chartered a car and headed straight to the hot spring resort. By the time we checked in and settled into the place, it was already evening. The team leader and the others hadn't soaked for long before they started clamoring to go back to the room for board games. I wasn't interested, so I waved them off. After the crowd shuffled away, I was the only one left in the vast open-air hot spring pool. The hot water covered my chest, and steam swirled around. I rested my head against the edge of the pool and closed my eyes, just beginning to relax, when suddenly I felt a burning gaze land on me. I snapped my eyes open. A man had been sitting beside me. I had no idea how long. His bathrobe hung loosely, revealing a chest dampened by the mist. Through the rising steam, those eyes stared at me without blinking.
It was Lu Xiaoya.
I instinctively sat up straight in the water. What are you doing here? Didn't you say you weren't coming? He let his arm drop, fingers idly stirring the water. At my words, he raised an eyebrow. If I said I was coming, would you have come? I sneered. Of course not. Not wanting to spend another second in the same space as him, I turned and headed for the edge of the pool. Suddenly, 2 words rang out behind me. Wife. My body went rigid, my feet rooted to the spot. I didn't dare to look back. You tricked me, and now you want to run? I have no idea what you're talking about. Before I could finish, there was a splash of water. The person behind me stepped into the water. The heat and pressure closed in from behind. Before I could turn around, a hand grabbed my waist from behind, a scorching palm pressing against me through my soaked bathrobe, pulling me backward into his embrace. He lowered his head, his lips brushing against my ear, his voice low. You pretended to be a girl and tricked me into an online romance, then slept with me and took off without a word. Fiancé, tell me, how should I settle this score with you? The moment the words left his mouth, his hand slid from my waist up to my throat, gripping it with just enough force to force my head back, the back of my skull pressing against his shoulder. I was locked in his arms, unable to move. My heart pounded wildly. He knew everything. A layer of moisture uncontrollably welled up in my eyes. I gritted my teeth and denied it. Lu Xiaoya, you're insane. I have no idea what you're talking about. His fingertip pressed against the pulse on my neck, gently rubbing, then he lowered his head and bit down on my shoulder. The swirling steam was thick with his scent. I was forced to arch my back, trapped between him and the pool wall, with nowhere to retreat. If only her mouth were as soft as it was that night. He lowered his eyes and slapped me on the ass, not hard, but humiliating enough. Then, with a cold face, he spoke calmly. Fiancé, you're just a born greedy bastard. Back then in the bar, you sold yourself for money and went to a hotel with someone. Now, for money again, you pretended to be a girl and started an online relationship with me. I shuddered all over. He even knew about that bar incident. No wonder, when we first met, he looked at me with that kind of eyes and said those things. Lu Xiaoya's heartbeat came through my back, heavy and rapid. When he spoke again, his voice was low and hoarse, as if he was holding something back, yet trembling slightly at the end. Fiancé, I hate you. But why didn't you keep lying to me? Is it because I'm not rich enough, or have you already found someone better than me, someone more willing to be your dog? He tightened his arm around my waist, his chin resting in the hollow of my shoulder, and his voice suddenly went hoarse, revealing a hint of grievance he couldn't hide. Since you're bad, why not be completely bad? Why did you still break up with me? Lu Xiaoya's accusation struck my heart, and my heart skipped a beat. Could it be that he, towards me? The barrage comments floated up slowly. Wait, what's with the male lead's tone? Shouldn't he be using every means to kill the male supporting character after learning the truth? Why does he seem like a big wolf dog abandoned by its owner? Could he really have been turned gay by the male supporting character? No way, upstairs, you're overthinking. The male lead just isn't used to being dumped. When has the crown prince of the Beijing circle ever been broken up with? It's just possessiveness. Once the feeling passes, he'll still be ruthless to him. I instantly sobered up. I turned abruptly, raised my hand, and pushed hard against his chest. Water splashed between us, wetting my face. Had enough. I looked up at him. Yes, I'm greedy, materialistic, and a liar. So, are you going to take revenge? Don't forget, from the very beginning, this was a transaction between us. You give me money, I provide emotional value, a transaction. Lu Xiaoya cut me off, his face pale as death. Don't tell me you never felt even a flicker of attraction to me. I looked at him, a sharp ache piercing through me like a needle. Just as I was about to speak, my phone buzzed repeatedly. I pulled it out to see several photos from my dad. Every single one was from just now, me and Lu Xiaoya in the hot spring pool, our bodies pressed together in a suggestive pose. Right after, a string of texts popped up. Son, so this is your sugar daddy? The family debt, he's the one who paid it off, right? I've seen him before, his family's loaded. I never thought a body as messed up as yours could bag someone like him. Should have sent you out sooner to rake in more cash. If you won't give me any money, what do you say I go hit him up for it instead? My mind went blank, and my blood ran cold. seeing Lu Xiaoya pestering me endlessly. I lost all patience. With a cold face, I shook him off and said, "No." Then I grabbed a bath towel, wrapped it around myself, and walked away without looking back. After a few steps, I turned my head and whispered hoarsely, "Lu Xiaoya, I'm sorry. In the future, keep your eyes open and don't run into a shameless liar like me again." With that, I disappeared into the vast night. When I reached the locker room, I pulled open the door, changed my clothes, and expressionlessly replied to my dad's message. "Come find me. I'll give you the money." Then I sent him a location. When I arrived at the meeting spot, my dad was already there. The dim streetlight stretched a shadow, making him look thin and long. He hadn't been doing well lately, his hair was graying, and his cheekbones protruded from weight loss. When he saw me, he stubbed out the cigarette in his hand. His harsh, murky eyes landed on me. "Where's the money?" I didn't move. He took an eager step forward, his voice anxious. "Did you bring it or not?" "No money." He froze for a moment, then let out a snort. "What about your sugar daddy? Didn't he come?" He looked me up and down. "Yeah, it figures. With a body like yours. When the doctor first held you out, I couldn't even bring myself to recognize you, some gender-ambiguous thing. No normal person would want you."
I didn't respond.
I've heard these words my whole life. I lost feelings long ago. When I was a kid, several times, if it weren't for my mom's strong objections, he would have thrown me out like a disgrace. Seeing that I stayed silent, my dad grew even more furious. "All the money you earn is coaxed out with that face of yours, isn't it? Since you've sold yourself once, go sell yourself again and trade some money for me. What's the big deal? Don't forget, everything you have was given by me." I looked up at him, my tone calm. "If you're done, I'm just here to tell you. Don't think you'll get a single cent from me." His face slowly reddened, then turned ashen. In the end, he actually lowered his head before me, his earlier arrogance gone. Hunched over, his voice trembling, he said, "Son, I was wrong. Please save your dad. I owe a ton of loan shark debt, and your stepmom has run off. If I can't pay up in the next couple of days, they'll really kill me." So he was at his wit's end. No wonder he suddenly showed up out of nowhere, so desperately begging for money. I couldn't help but gloat. "Serves you right. Scum like you deserved retribution long ago. And even if I had money, I'd throw it away or burn it before giving you a single cent." After that, I couldn't be bothered with him, and turned to leave. There was 2 seconds of silence behind me, then he gasped for breath, bared his teeth, and roared, "Since I can't live, you won't either." Before I could even turn around, I heard the blade slicing through the air, but the expected pain never came. Someone grabbed me from the side and yanked me hard. I stumbled 2 steps and hit the wall. When I turned back, Lu Xiaoya was standing where I had been, a dagger buried in his side. The hilt was still exposed, and blood was already seeping out through his clothes, trickling down the blade. My father let go and stepped back. His lips trembled as he looked at his own hands, as if just realizing what he had done. I rushed over to catch Lu Xiaoya's collapsing body, pressing my hand firmly over his wound. Blood oozed through my fingers, scalding hot. At that moment, footsteps and shouts rang out from the alley entrance. The squad leader finally rushed in with the police. My father was pinned to the ground, hands cuffed. He struggled to turn his head, and through his tangled hair, a pair of eyes stared at me, grinning. "You monster, I should have strangled you when you were born. You're a jinx. Anyone who gets near you ends up cursed." The supervisor stood in front of me, urging the police to drag him away. I held Lu Xiaoya in my arms, blood staining my entire hand as overwhelming fear consumed me. "Are you out of your mind? Why did you come?" I couldn't help but yell at him. I had it all planned. I texted the supervisor to call the police for me, so I deliberately provoked my dad to make him lose control and attack me, so I could get him locked up. My life shouldn't end up rotting in the hands of someone like him. But I never expected Lu Xiaoya to step in and take that knife from me. He's out of his mind. Lu Xiaoya grabbed my hand, speaking in fragments. "I heard from the supervisor you were in danger." "Shut up, Fiancé.
I'm sorry.
Forgive me for my past prejudice and arrogance." His voice grew weaker. "After you left, I had someone look into it and found out how hard your life had been. I told you to shut up." My throat was parched. I didn't want to hear him go on. "Lu Xiaoya, if you close your eyes, I will never forgive you for the rest of my life." He cupped my face with trembling hands and wiped away my tears. His voice was terribly hoarse. Every word seemed squeezed out from his chest. "You're crying like this, Fiancé. Do you have feelings for me too?" I nodded frantically. "Yes, always have. I'm just too timid to trust anyone's feelings, afraid of being abandoned, afraid of seeing disgust in others' eyes, and even more afraid of having my hopes dashed. I've just never been chosen by anyone." Lu Xiaoya smiled after hearing this, then his eyelashes drooped and his hand slipped from my palm. The ambulance took Lu Xiaoya to the hospital. The doctor said fortunately, he avoided the vital organs. Although the wound looked deep, it wasn't life-threatening. While he was unconscious, I went to the police station to give a statement. My father's stab was clearly captured on surveillance. It was intentional injury. Plus, the loan shark case implicated other crimes, and combined punishment will be enough to keep him locked up for the rest of his life. My mother called, asked a few caring questions, then was silent for a while. For once, she didn't plead on behalf of that person. Maybe she's getting older and finally seeing things clearly. The next day, when the office manager came to visit the hospital, I was sitting by Lu Xiaoya's bedside. He still hadn't woken up. The blanket was pulled to his chest, his fingers resting on the edge of the bed. I held his hand. Our fingers intertwined. I heard a sound at the door. When I turned around, the office manager was standing there holding a fruit basket. His mouth opened and closed, his face full of the bewildered look of someone whose worldview had been reshaped. In the end, he said nothing, set down the basket, and walked away in silence. Late at night, I was dozing off by the bedside when suddenly, as if sensing something, I snapped my eyes open and met a pair of deep, bright eyes that had been watching me for who knows how long. There was a smile in them.
Lu Xiaoya.
"You're awake." I straightened up in surprise and turned to call the nurse. He raised a hand and tugged my wrist. The pull was light, but it made me stop. "Wife, before I passed out, I heard you say I'm in your heart." "Right." My throat tightened, and I didn't avoid his gaze. "Lu Xiaoya, have you thought it through? Are you sure you love me?" I paused, my throat feeling blocked. "Do you know that my body is different from normal people's?" "I know." He cut me off, his gaze unwavering. "I don't mind. In fact, I like it." I was stunned for a moment. The boulder hanging in my heart finally landed. But I still asked one last question. "Don't you dislike men? Weren't you homophobic?" He curved his lips, as if he found it absurd himself. "I really don't like men. But Fiancé, the person I like is you." He pulled out a red string bracelet from the inner pocket of his clothes, moving slowly and with difficulty, but refused to let me help. He handed it to me. The weaving was crooked, a few red threads twisted together. It was clearly the one I had lost before. "When I recognized you, I struggled too. I was angry too," he said in a low voice. "But I found that compared to being deceived by you, I'm more afraid that you'll never talk to me again." He tied the red string around my wrist, his fingers lingering there for a long time. He looked up and gazed at me seriously. "This is the love thread. Honey, don't lose it again." I looked down at the crooked red strings, and a ridiculous thought suddenly struck me. "Lu Xiaoya, did you make these yourself?" His ears turned bright red. He turned his face away and nodded. I was stunned. So he had taken me to heart and treated me seriously from such an early time. All my worries dissolved completely. I tightened my grip on the red string around my wrist, bent down, and hugged him. Tears of laughter glistened at the corners of my eyes. I whispered softly, "Brother, I look forward to your guidance in the future." We were probably both imperfect, one bristling with thorns, the other arrogant and rude, but fate had bound together two people who didn't know how to love. The road ahead would likely be full of many more arguments and awkward moments, but I believed we would always walk forward hand in hand, steadfastly.